houses right around the corner from where Kim and I live, and she participated in programs at the Hudson Guild, one of our fabulous settlement houses in New York City. And she's been quoted as saying, "I started there when I was 8. I lived near the Hudson Guild in Manhattan. They had a children's group. It's a settlement house. You went there after school to do whatever you were interested in until your parents got off from work and came for you." And this was particularly an art and acting program she was in. For me, it was like being a kid in a candy store and being able to have any piece of candy I wanted. I knew right away that I liked it. That is what our after-school programs do, and we'll be taking it. A lot of big stars have come from New York City. But a couple of years ago when we did the ribbon cutting at Hudson Guild, Whoopi was there. And Whoopi went through the crowd, shook hands with the people who had been her babysitter, had been her mother's friends, her family's friends. She is not just a big star who happens to live in the New York area. She is a philanthropist, an activist, somebody who puts her money, her mouth, her position, her endorsements where her heart is, whether it's human rights, cultural affairs, HIV and AIDS, fighting bullying. If every Hollywood big shot was like her, this world would be a better place. There's the Tony. How much you would love that Audrey McDonald won the Tony. I don't think Whoopi's walls are complete. Because she does not have a framed in plastic New York City Council proclamation. That's what she really wanted when she got all those other awards. Let me just take a second before we move on with the program to recognize my colleagues who are here. We have to my left, Councilmember Melissa Mark-Viverito, Councilmember Ruth Ziegler of Brooklyn, and I just said about him in this room, but I'll say it anyway, the father and kind of shepherd and keeper of the funds for homeless and runaway youth. Another member of our LGBT caucus, Councilmember Jimmy Van Brander. Another member of our LGBT caucus, Councilmember Danny Drumbo. The final member, the other L in the LGBT caucus, Rosie Mendez. Our Finance Committee, Councilmember Dominic and the Upper West Side Councilmember, right to my north, Councilmember Dale Brewer. I've got a lot of folks who are here tonight that I want to recognize. We have our administration person, so just hold your applause to the end. Ron Richter, our Administration for Children's Services Commissioner, Jeannie Mulgrave, our Department of Youth and Community Development Commissioner, Catherine Oliver, the Director of the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment, Edna Wells-Handy, the Department of Citywide Administrative Services. This guy deserves a round of applause before everybody else. The man to make sure everybody gets married, Mike Sweeney, our Director of the Mayor's Office of Veterans Affairs, Terrence Holliday, is with us. An outstanding member of our fire department, Eugene Walsh, is with us, and a member of Fire Flag. So thank you very much. We have members of the NYC LGBT's Hate Crimes Task Force, I want to thank them for being here. We also have representatives of the Log Cabin Republicans, of the Gay, Lesbian, Independent Democrats, District Leader Brad Wellman, folks from the Transgender Legal Defense Fund, and a lot of other people, but I'm going to do this in installments because there are so many. We'll get back to the rest. But, watch it off. Now, I have two very significant introductions to make. And the first is someone who you have probably heard a little bit about from the various press coverage he seems to get even when it's not planned. The person who walked me down the aisle on May 19th, my father, Larry Quinn. So and I've realized recently I forget to say the most important word in this introduction. Recently I noticed my wife, Kim Padula. And a year ago, when we were in this very room, who would have ever thought that I would be here a year later introducing Kim as my wife? In fact, what we were doing a year ago in this room was opening our phones and calling Dean Skelos, if you remember correctly. And what we showed in our fight was that when the LGBT community gets knocked down, we don't stay down. When things don't work out, we get right back up. We dust ourselves off, we pull together a better, bigger coalition, we work harder. We have a lot of people to thank for this, a lot of people in this room, but some folks who couldn't be with us today who are up in Albany. Assemblymember Danny O'Donnell, Assemblymember Deborah Glick, Assemblymember Matt Titone, Assemblymember Micah Kellner. It's a hot dedication, that assembly, I'm just saying. And Assemblymember Harry Bronson, and also State Senator Tom Duane. You may have heard that Tom is retiring from the state senate, which is a little hard for a lot of us to believe. So when you leave, there are big thank you cards out in the lobby to Tom. So I'd ask all of you, if you didn't get to do it on the way in, to take a second on your way out and please sign a thank you card that we're going to have delivered to Tom's office. Now, another person who made an enormous commitment that really changed the world since when we stood here a year ago was Governor Cuomo. He made a commitment when he ran for governor. He followed through with that commitment. And let me tell you, that doesn't happen all the time in politics and government. But he showed us that when communities stand together and stand with elected officials will stand with us. And you know, that this victory has sent a message far beyond just our community. It sent a message to elected officials all across this country that you can't marginalize people. You can't say those people don't matter. You can't say that any more in New York, and if you can't say it here, we set the standard. Eventually you won't be able to say it. And the model we put in place that got marriage equality passed, it is the model we need to grow and strengthen. The model that will get gender passed in Albany. It's the model that will get DOMA repealed, get ENDA passed on the federal level. But it is also a model that we are now working with other communities to follow and replicate. And I just want to make a point of this. It is rare in legislative bodies that there are votes on bills where those bills fail, and a year later those bills come back up. It almost never happens, and I don't know if it's ever happened in Albany before. And what we accomplished has not just changed the world for us, but it's changed the playing field in Albany for all of us and all the other communities we are a part of and support as it relates to work in Albany.
I want to thank everyone who was
part of making that video, but I want to particularly thank James Polite, whose name you saw up there, who is a council intern. You met him, you might have met him last summer at this event, but in between that event and this event, he finished his freshman year at Brandeis University. And you know, I think watching that video took us all back, right? A year and the year before, and it took me back to that day on July 24th when Mike and his staff did such an amazing job with the whole world watching, marrying people. Took me back particularly to that first marriage of Connie and Phyllis, who are with us tonight and who are this year's Grand Marshals. When you're fueled by a passion that is driven by your love of your community and your love of other people, you're just unstoppable. Because there's a purity to your goal. There's a purity to your ambition. And no matter how many times, no matter how big they are, no matter how strong they are, if you are driven by hate and the desire to hold other people back, those people who love and those people who are driven by love, who have led us for so long, they will always lead us to victory, as Connie and Phyllis and And that's really why the victory in New York was kind of a victory heard around the world. It was a victory that led to, I believe in part, to the president changing his position. It was a victory that helped lead in the efforts against Proposition 8. It was a victory that helped lead Secretary Clinton to declare to the world in Geneva that it is everyone's responsibility to support the simple truth that gay rights are human rights and human rights are gay rights. And it was a kind of resounding victory that brought over the past 2 weeks, brought 2 federal court rulings in favor of repealing DOMA. One of them in last year's honoree, Edie Windsor's case. And Edie, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank Robbie Kaplan and everyone at Paul Weiss who have worked with you. Thank you for sharing and for fighting and for letting us all in on what you knew in your heart was true since that first day you met Thea, that love conquers all. So thank you so much. You are the 3 of you are an inspiration to all of us. Now I'm going to move on to our first honoree. In 2009, at the request of my office and Detective Tim Duffy of the police department, who was married in Mike McSweeney's office yesterday. So let's hear it. But in response to a request by my office, Police Commissioner Ray Kelly reconvened the NYPD LGBT Advisory Board. Now I want to thank Police Commissioner Kelly very, very much for reconvening that panel. But I also want to thank Robert Pinter and other people in this room. Because putting the advisory panel back together came out of the community organizing in response to the wrongful arrests and entrapments on 8th Avenue. Another example of good coming out of the community saying, no, we will not be marginalized. So we need to give ourselves a round of applause for that. We have a situation where the head of the largest police force in the country is sitting himself with LGBT activists and advocates to work together on issues of a concern to our community because people spoke out when something wrong happened. Our commission, that does deserve a round of applause. Now, the process that the panel has started hasn't been an easy one for anyone, but I want to commend everyone in the department and on the panel for sticking with it. On day one of the panel's work, activists shared some of the abuses that transgender and gender non-conforming people were experiencing with regards to the NYPD, the people charged with protecting them. Members of the panel asked for changes in the NYPD patrol guide. It's something like, I'm sure police don't think of it this way, but for us lay people, it's like the Bible for police officers. The panel went to work, and the NYPD went to work. Monthly meetings were spent poring over definitions and procedures. And I'm told that these 2-hour periodic meetings were long and difficult, leaving some people wondering if they were speaking the same language, if the issues of the transgender community could be put into patrol guidees. But today, the first time we're announcing this, we can announce that the New York City Police Department Patrol Guide has been updated formally and officially. To reflect a better and more humane way for the NYPD to work with the transgender community, a definition that was written by and definitions and procedures written by the LGBT Advisory Board. We're one of the first police departments to have done this. It's a historic accomplishment, and it sets us on a path to move forward to get the Department of Corrections and every other city agency, and then eventually the Department of Health on their stupid pig-headed position on the birth certificate to do the right thing for the transgender community. That's my editorializing. That wasn't Ray Kelly speaking about his colleagues in the Department of Health. But you can't get to step 2 or 3 if you don't have step 1. So I'd like everyone who has served on the LGBT Police Advisory Panel to please stand and get a well-deserved round of applause. And I think Katie Durano is here on behalf of the police commissioner who's going to say a few words. Come on up on stage so we can all get a picture together. And I just need to make a plug. It's not just the NYPD who is recruiting. Being on the panel is a tough job and it takes a lot of time, so we're looking for new panel members. And if you're interested, call Carlos Menchaca in my office at 212-788-5646. And will the panel come on over here please so we can all get a picture together. And where's Detective Duffy? Is he up? All right, Detective Duffy and Katie Durano coming through. We'll do that last. I don't know. I guess you'll share. You get everybody? Where are the men's councilmen? Where else is it? Andrew! particular presentation to Tim Duffy. Where's Tim? Come back. So, Tim, as I said, got married yesterday, and here are the first official wedding pictures. There's a purse over there.
So I sort of missed the teleprompter that we had.
Me too.
That was pretty cool. So on behalf of all the panel, thank you for the kind welcome. In June 1983, I graduated from the Cooper Union School of Architecture. So it's been now almost in June of 1983, so almost 29 years today since I last stood on this stage. And since we're talking about New York City, I believe it is the best education that money cannot buy. Since it's a free school. A lot has happened since that time, and I've been very fortunate to be a small part of this vital movement for the health and safety of the LGBT community. Since 2009, I've also been very fortunate to be part of the New York Police Department's LGBT Advisory Group panel. As part of that group's work, a small group of us began meeting regularly with the NYPD in the Speaker's office in early 2011 to collaborate on a revision of the NYPD's Patrol Guide and its treatment of transgender and gender nonconforming people. Today, we are pleased to announce the progress that the NYPD has made in recognizing and addressing the real safety and rights concerns that transgender New Yorkers face when engaging with the police as members of the public, victims of crime, and when stopped, searched, arrested, and detained. The NYPD's new Patrol Guide provisions make clear that discrimination, harassment, or disparaging comments based on actual or perceived gender is defined and prohibited as required by New York State's Local Law 3, which we passed in 2002 with the help of people here in this stage today. And while not addressing some of the root causes of the policing of transgender and gender nonconforming people, the crucial changes to the Patrol Guide announced today are a major step forward in improving conditions in New York City. The immense efforts from all involved have resulted in a stronger and more productive relationship with the NYPD and organizations that advocate on behalf of our communities. And so thank you again on behalf of the panel, and happy Pride.
So much from the police person. Come on up here.
Hi, my name is Katie Lemire, and I'm counsel to the Police Commissioner, Raymond Kelly. I work at the NYPD. First, let me say it's a pleasure to be here with you all. The Police Commissioner sends his regrets. He was unable to attend, but he asked me to come here and to speak to you about the work that was done. Before I go any further, let me just say, you gotta feel sorry for me a little bit right now, because first of all, here I am, standing next to the speaker in a schlumpy, rained-on black suit. She looks killer in her blue dress. I'm also here to speak about police procedure, sexy stuff, and following on the heels of Whoopi Goldberg, and having sat through the last 20 minutes with a crew of guys behind me hissing every time NYPD was mentioned, guys up there. So, in any case, let me just tell you a little bit about some of the things that are being changed in the Patrol Guide. And these are big, big changes. The patrol guide really is, so to speak, the Bible of the police department. Any small change is a big deal. And I've worked on a lot of initiatives and changes to the patrol guide during my time at the police department. I tell you truthfully that this is the most comprehensive set of changes to the patrol guide that I have witnessed there. Seriously, we're talking over 100, 120 pages. It's a lot. And let me just tell you a few things. The patrol guide changes made clear, for example, that disrespectful remarks regarding an arrestee's gender identity is not acceptable, and officers can be disciplined for doing so. And going forward, this is an important one. Transgender prisoners will only be searched by police officers of the same gender that the prisoners identify with. We're also changing definitions so that same-sex spouses are considered as family. And we're redrafting critical forms that are used hundreds of thousands of times every year when someone is arrested, so that the arrestee's preferred name will be included on those forms. And we're requiring officers to use that preferred name and gender when addressing transgender and non-conforming prisoners. And of course, changing the words on a page don't do the whole trick. So there's going to be training that's going to be rolled out, training to recruits, and training to the thousands of police officers who are out there right now. And we're not only changing the patrol guide, we're also at work now on an anti-bullying campaign. The police department is producing a new PSA, a part of the It Gets Better campaign that focuses on LGBT youth. Once that video is completed, we're going to post it on YouTube in order to reach vulnerable kids and teenagers. We know that there's still more work to be done, but with the help of the elected leaders here tonight, in particular Speaker Quinn, it's been a pleasure working with the advisory group. We've laughed, we've cried, we've yelled, but we made it. And it's been a pleasure to be here and to help to announce these changes, and I thank you all.
Katie Lemire, who I kept calling Katie Duran, who had been the LGBT liaison for Robert Morgenthau, so I was in the right bailiwick. Oh, it was right there, front row. So I was in the right public safety bailiwick. But Katie really did a tremendous amount of the backup legal work to make this possible. So let's hear it. Folks that have come in since I did the last round of introductions. Former State Senator Catherine Abate, who's with us today. We have representatives of Queen's Pride, True Colors, American Vets for Equal Rights New York, Gay Officers Action League, PFLAG, the Gay Lesbian Anti-Violence Project, Queers for Economic Justice. Or apparently stayed right. Carrie and others from the LGBT Community Services Center. Folks from Brooklyn Pride Center are here, the Staten Island County Pride Center, Harm Reduction Coalition, Marriage Equality New York, people from Sage are here. I know Charles O'Byrne, who's so critical of our marriage equality efforts, are here, so let's give everybody a big round of applause. Thanking all of them for being here. I want to thank DC Vito, the executive director at The Lamp, and all of the young people at The Lamp who created the public service announcements on anti-bullying and harassment you saw in our pre-show. We at the City Council are taking bullying and harassment very seriously. Back in 2007, we launched the Respect for All program, and it continues to engage teachers, principals, and an ever-growing list of partner organizations. This year, we're inviting all of our RFA partners and gay straight alliances at all of our public schools and all of our parents to join us on June 24th as we march down Fifth Avenue, spreading our message of respect for all. So we hope you'll all join us on that day. Now, this past winter, for the first time, we presented 26 awards for RFA excellence, sending principals and teachers home to their schools with victory banners to hang proudly in the hallways of their schools, saying that they had the best RFA programs. And we want to thank everyone at the Department of Education and the UFT who worked with us on this. So let's give them a big round of applause. Now, we all continue to work to make sure that the implementation of the Dignity for All School Act goes well, because this will also increase training and give us a stronger backbone for respect for all. All of these efforts, we hope, will send a clear message that we won't accept bullying in our streets, in our schools, or anywhere in our 5 boroughs of any student. And as we just last month saw a 12-year-old who lived in Melissa Margarito's district take his life as we believe a result of bullying, we all have to commit even more deeply to this effort.